All right, we're gonna work on wiring this thing up to see if it'll hit or not. So I ran this thing to where the white line is on the 0. I tried to put a little paint on it there to show it a little better. We're gonna come around to number 1 on the motor. When we look in this spark plug hole, I don't know if you can see it or not, but number 1 there, we put a screwdriver or something in there. We'll touch the top of that piston on number 1. So we'll know by that we're on top dead center. And by looking at we looked up our drawing on our layout and firing order. It shows us number 1 should be here. So we made sure our distributor, I actually had a 180 out. I had to take this bolt out. I dropped it in wrong yesterday after messing around with that shaft. But now I got it on 1, and I can put the cap. I got the new button on. I can put the new cap on and wire up the new wires. Now I got a old distributor here. It's locked up. It won't spin. So I'm going to use this plug to do my wiring for the ignition on the plug here. So the orange wire is the positive lead, and the negative, the black wire is the negative lead. If you hook them up wrong, it just won't accelerate. It'll backfire and do stuff because the dwell will be wrong inside the HEI. So I got a 50-50 shot. Most likely I'm going to mess it up. All right, I'm going to put the cap and wires on. All right, that magnetic pickup there to the rotor on the distributor needs to be an 8,000 gap. Give you an idea what an 8,000 gap is. One single piece of paper is 3 thousandths. And that gap needs to be straight up and down in there. You don't want it to open or close in the bottom. So we need 3 pieces of paper basically. If you 3 pieces of notebook paper, you don't have to have no fancy thing. You basically don't want them to touch. As it goes around there, it's going to induce a magnetic field. When this piece of metal goes past this coil, there's a bunch of windings wrapped around a piece of iron in there. When it goes by, it's going to produce a voltage spike in this. That voltage spike is actually going to trigger the transistor into making basically a contact, but it's not a real contact because it goes through a semiconductor. It's basically saturates a point in silicon, some plates, blah, blah, blah. It basically just tells the distributor to collapse the field. So we got the cap. The cap's got a notch. Distributor's got a notch. And we got the rotor button right here. Rotor button's got a little, see it up in there, notch inside there. See the notch? So it can only go on one way. You put it on there, and I know I'm putting it on backwards, but it's going to spin around until it drops a notch, and boop, drop. It's on. Same thing with the cap. We're going to put it on. See the notch? Notch up top. Put it on until it drops the notch. Clip these little things on each side. It's on. So now we're going to put the wires on. Now the manifold says the wiring 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. So this is 1. And on a small block it goes this rotation. On a big block it goes backwards rotation. But whatever motor you're looking on, Google, just Google it. It'll tell you what rotation is and where one should be, and it'll show all the other numbers. Just pick the one for your motor. I'm going to put the wires and the new plugs in. The plugs will be gapped at 35 thousandths. That actually is a feeler gauge, but you can buy them. Just single one wire setups. I got one around here. I'll see if I can find it. All right, they say if you're going to run one of these HEI setups to use a copper core. The only ones that I've ever heard of is like the platinum ones they charge you like $8-10 a spark plug for actually damaging pistons, but I've never seen physical proof of that either. But I've heard it's happened. But anyway, you can use a set of feeler gauges and whatever the recommendation is. I mean, the auto parts store sold them to you. Will tell you whatever they are. We put together two to hit 35 thousandths, or you can find one of these. And these is what I was talking about earlier. It's got every size of the wire. So this one's telling us all the different sizes of wires it has there. So we're looking for the one that says 035. I'm looking through this thing. So anyway, these right here, these two little things are what you use to bend that plug. So you take this, shove her in there like that on that plug. Bend her in or out to the wires that you want for the 03000. We're going to do that to every plug. We're going to make it 035. We're going to put them in there, and the plugs will be gapped. And then we'll put the wires in. So you can see how I've shoved the 035 wire in there and made sure that's gapped right. All right, you see that little washer on there? It's actually like a crush washer. It's like a lock washer, compression. We're going to put it in there. Now, what I wanted to tell you was you can take these and clean them and scuff them. But down in the inside there, that insulator will be dirty. And you can have them pretty up here, but it's in the inside. You'll be amazed how if you're trying to get an engine running, or one that's you buy a set of, you spend $20 on a set of plugs, and all of a sudden it'll run and purr like a kitten. So don't skimp on just cleaning them. I've bought engines to get to run, bought them, cleaned them, put a set of plugs in, it'll work. So put these in, that's tight enough. I actually feel that washer seat. You don't need anything more than that. It's done. Put the other side in now. One other thing I wanted to tell you, that porcelain that's on there, you ever want to break a car window or any kind of piece of glass, you break that porcelain off, or you just toss it and that window is busted. As soon as it touches it, it'll break a window. That ceramic, that porcelain right there, you go in a junkyard. I don't know, it's hard to do that nowadays. Back when I was a kid, you could go in all the time. You throw a piece of porcelain out a window and then just shatter it. All right, we got all our new plug wires on. How I do it is they come in lengths. The shortest one goes to the shortest place, and 1, 8, 4, 3, 5, 6, 7, 2. And when you put it on there, it'll make a popping noise. So you can actually know. I don't know if you heard it pop or not, but you'll actually feel it and it'll pop over it. Anyway, now we're going to hook up our HEI to our coil to our magnetic pickup that's inside our distributor. All this stuff is going to go together. And we're going to see if we get spark out of that system. All right, I got her wired up. I'm going to explain this. It's pretty simple. The two wires that came out of our pickup inside our distributor, they're coming over here to our G and W terminals. These are actually the part that's going to switch the contact. We just call it a set of contacts. We won't get into the actual physics of how that works with the semiconductor inside there. It's actually a transistor. So this is actually going to give the signal for it to switch over here. The key, this is going to be my red wire, comes in, and the coil is powered all the time. But when this thing gets the signal through this negative side, it collapses the field on, there's two sets of windings in here. There's a low voltage set of windings and a high voltage set of windings. When the low voltage set of windings collapse, the 12 volts gets transformed and moved onto the high voltage set of windings, and comes out at 14,000, 18,000 volts. So 12,000 volts gets turned into 18,000 volts, and that's all in how the turns are in there. We won't get into all that. Anyway, once that dissipates, so it actually is not actually powering the coil, it's actually dissipating the coil when a spark is given to the distributor, and then the distributor just commutates it through that rotor to whichever one that you want it to go to, whichever cylinder. So if you ever want to test a coil, it's not putting power on it, it's shorting it. And once you short it, then the spark should happen out of it. That's basically all this is doing. Is this, the distributor pickup is giving it a signal for this side to short that coil. And that's the whole ignition system. And any magnetic pickup that you have, any distributor that's electronic, you can go to this. No, we're going to give her a go. Well, a lot's happened since the last time I talked to you. I'm not able to get any spark. When I pull a spark plug wire out, shove a screwdriver in it, put it to anywhere place on ground, turn the motor, I should get a spark. I'm not getting a spark. Every part of this whole system is brand new, except that distributor, which I questioned because the cap had gotten hit, and it was actually hitting that rotor in there when I got it. So I actually got two different distributors coming. One's got a whole Chrysler ignition system, and one I'll be able to just drop in here, $99, O'Reilly's, wire, plug it in. I should be going. It has to be that distributor. But if I get that in, we should be able to get started. Really cool thing happened though. I was able to trade for a tunnel ram. So I got 383-400 tunnel ram and the right 9776 450 carburetors. Check back in. Hopefully next time she'll be running. Later.